The 21st century battlefield isn't always about soldiers and tanks. Today's wars can be fought with sanctions, financial pressure, and crippling tariffs. It's a new age of economic warfare. So, what happens if the world's biggest superpower decides to wage an all-out economic war on a rising power like India? Picture a scenario where Washington tries to enforce its will with tariffs designed to bring New Delhi to its knees. Washington might think it holds all the cards, but in this game they'd be making a huge miscalculation because India has a trump card. It's an alliance of nations that's quietly rewriting the rules of the global economy. This isn't just another trading bloc, this is BRICS. And this is the story of how India is using it as its primary alternative to survive and fight back. To get what India's doing, you first have to understand the threat. Let's imagine a nightmare scenario that keeps strategists up at night. A near future where Washington, for its own geopolitical reasons, decides to make an example of India. In this hypothetical crisis, the US slaps sweeping tariffs of up to 50% on key Indian exports. This wouldn't be some minor trade spat, it would be a full-blown economic assault. The objective? To sabotage India's Make in India dream, dictate its foreign policy, and force it to fall in line. The damage would be devastating. With billions of dollars in trade on the line, Indian industries from textiles to tech would face an existential crisis. Supply chains built over decades would be thrown into chaos. Millions of jobs, the very foundation of India's growing middle class, would be on the chopping block. This is a classic hero's dilemma. One path is to give in, accept the economic pain, and surrender strategic autonomy. The other path is defiance. Stand firm, take the hit, and find another way to not just survive, but thrive. For a nation of 1.4 billion people with a deep sense of pride and a vision for its place in the world, the choice is obvious. India refuses to back down. But defiance takes more than just guts. It takes a plan, it takes an alternative. This is where the BRICS alliance shifts from a geopolitical buzzword into India's most powerful economic shield. What started as a catchy acronym from an investment bank, Brazil, Russia, India, and China, has grown into a serious political and economic force. And it's not just the original five anymore. The club is getting bigger. Since 2024, the group has expanded to include major economic players like Egypt, Ethiopia, Iran, and the UAE. Saudi Arabia and Indonesia have also become members, bringing the total to 11. This expanded group, often called BRICS Plus, is a force to be reckoned with. It now represents over 45% of the world's population and a huge chunk of the global economy. Let's be clear about its economic muscle. While the G7 group of Western nations still leads in nominal GDP, the BRICS Plus collective has already surpassed the G7 when measured by purchasing power parity, PPP. That's a crucial metric that reflects what an economy can actually buy and produce. And with the addition of energy giants like Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Iran, and Russia, the bloc now controls nearly half of the world's oil production. This isn't just an alliance on paper, it's a strategic meeting of minds. These emerging economies share a common goal: to build a more balanced, multipolar world. They see the current system, dominated by the US and its institutions, as rigged and often used for political bullying. BRICS is their tool for building a parallel system, one that offers an escape from unilateral sanctions and dollar dominance. For India, staring down the barrel of economic warfare, this alliance is no longer just a diplomatic forum, it's a strategic lifeline. So, how exactly does BRICS shield India from an economic attack? The strategy strikes at the very heart of American power, the dominance of the US dollar. For decades, almost all major international trade has been priced and settled in dollars. This gives Washington incredible power. Through its control over the global banking system, especially the SWIFT messaging network, the US can effectively excommunicate any country from international finance. The BRICS counter-strategy is a direct challenge to this system, built around one core idea: de-dollarization. The goal isn't to kill the dollar overnight, but to create a real alternative that cuts down on dependency. The first step is promoting trade in local currencies, and it's already happening. India is already settling some oil trades with the UAE in rupees and dirhams, completely bypassing the dollar. While most global trade is still in dollars, this is a significant start. But trading in local currencies needs a new financial plumbing. That's where the bloc's own institutions come in. The new development bank, NDB, nicknamed the BRICS Bank, is a perfect example. Based in Shanghai, the NDB was created as an alternative to the World Bank and IMF. Most importantly, it gives out loans for major infrastructure and development projects in local currencies. This protects vital projects from dollar fluctuations and the threat of sanctions. India is a huge beneficiary, with the NDB funding dozens of projects across the country, from new metro lines to green energy farms. Looking ahead, the bloc is working on even bolder ideas. Initiatives like BRICS Pay, a platform for retail transactions, are being developed. The vision is to create a payment system that operates completely outside of the Western-controlled SWIFT network, making BRICS economies far more resilient to financial blackmail. This strategy isn't just about money, it's redrawing the geopolitical map. Faced with pressure from the West, India is smartly deepening its ties with the East. This is India's long-held policy of strategic autonomy in action. The ability to pursue its own interests without getting locked into any single camp. This has led to a fascinating and complicated dynamic with China. Despite a history of tension and an ongoing border dispute, the shared threat of Western economic pressure has pushed New Delhi and Beijing toward a more practical relationship. Both nations know that within BRICS, economic cooperation helps their shared goal of building a multipolar world. It's a balancing act, but one where shared interests can sometimes outweigh deep-seated rivalry. This doesn't mean India is ditching its relationship with the United States. It's a sophisticated diplomatic dance. By strengthening its partnerships within BRICS and other groups like the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, SCO, India is sending a clear message to Washington. Your attempts at coercion won't lead to submission, they'll lead to diversification. It shows that India has other options and refuses to be backed into a corner. This approach also strengthens the entire global South. As Brazil's President Lula da Silva has said, the goal is to build a people-centric partnership among emerging nations. When a huge economy like India pushes back against unilateral pressure, it gives other countries the courage to do the same. This collective resilience is exactly what BRICS was designed for, turning it from a simple economic club into a political movement for a fairer global system. Every strategic plan has a turning point, that moment where it proves its worth. In this story, it isn't one big event, but a series of smart, forward-looking moves that are cementing India's position. One of the biggest is India's upcoming leadership role. In 2026, India is set to take over the BRICS chairmanship and host the 18th summit. This isn't just a fancy title. It puts India in the driver's seat, giving it a powerful platform to set the bloc's agenda at a crucial time. India has already made its priorities clear: more cooperation in trade, technology, and sustainable development, all while being a powerful voice for the global South. This leadership role is India's chance to hit the accelerator on its alternative strategy. It can push to speed up the development of shared payment systems, lobby for more NDB projects funded in local currencies, and build a stronger front against unilateral sanctions. And this proactive approach is already yielding results. The strong condemnation of unilateral sanctions in joint BRICS statements provides diplomatic protection. New tools like a multilateral guarantee fund from the NDB are being set up to encourage private investment and cut financing costs for Indian businesses. These are real, concrete steps building economic resilience brick by brick. By preparing to lead the bloc, India isn't just reacting to pressure, it's actively shaping its own future and laying the groundwork for a new economic reality. This tectonic shift with BRICS at the center is one of the biggest geopolitical stories of our time. It brings up some huge questions. Do you think this push for de-dollarization can actually work? And what role do you see India playing in this new world order? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. In the high-stakes chess match of global economics, a tariff war from a superpower like the United States could have been checkmate for India. But instead of folding, India decided to play a different game. It leveraged its trump card, the BRICS alliance, to turn a crisis into a catalyst for change. By teaming up with other major emerging economies, India is helping build an alternative economic ecosystem. It's an ecosystem built on trade in local currencies, powered by new financial institutions like the NDB, and driven by a shared vision of a multipolar world. BRICS is no longer just a talking shop, it is becoming a functional and strategic bloc that gives its members real leverage. For India, it's an economic shield, a diplomatic megaphone, and a vehicle for its ambition to be a leading power in a more balanced global order. The story of India's alternative strategy isn't just about surviving an economic war. It's about heralding the arrival of a new global architecture, one where power is more spread out, where economies aren't tied to a single currency, and where the nations of the global South have a powerful, collective voice. The old G7-centric world is being challenged, and the final outcome of this global power shift is far from certain. Like what you see? Subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the next one.